Darwin, congratulations on your win.
Darwin and the marathon man Andrew Cowan records another victory in international endurance rallying. The Scotsman had led home 80 survivors of the 6,000-kilometre Wynns Safari, one of the most punishing motor events held in Australia. A week earlier, there were 307 vehicles and bikes packed into the Sydney Showgrounds for the start. Lined up were over 600 drivers and navigators, prepared to take on Australia's outback for the next 7 days.
Nice to be here. Thanks very much for adding your names to the race.
I've been doing this for 20 years. I didn't get much sleep last night. And, you know, it's just once you get going, you start to relax.
From the Sydney Showgrounds, the competitors drove out to the Australian outback for 7 days. And each day, they faced a drive of 1,000 kilometres against the clock, over some of the worst roads Australia had to offer. The man who conceived the event, adventurer Hans Tholstrup, set out to make the first Wynns Safari a tough, demanding test that would rival the great rally across the Sahara, the annual Paris to Dakar marathon.
I was surprised at the numbers. I thought, well, okay, we'd start 150, 200 vehicles. But we could have started 500 vehicles quite easily. And it just proves that it is not a soft society.
Well, how many of those 308 competitors will eventually get through to Darwin?
Well, hopefully not more than 100. But we shall see.
What do you mean, hopefully?
Well, I think it would have been much too easy an event if much more than 100 vehicles made it to Darwin. But it's not that hard now. It has been eased off a lot. Had it been up to me, there would have been 10 make it to Darwin.
But not even Tholstrup's devious mind could have foreseen what heavy rain would do to a 29-kilometre section of the course on the first night. There was panic and pandemonium as cars, trucks, four-wheel drives and bikes, desperately racing the clock, ploughed into deep, sloppy mud. It turned into one great, messy traffic jam. And one competitor commented that it was a wonder that bike riders weren't decapitated on the steel winch reps which crisscrossed the track.
Well, so far we've been going just more than 12 hours. We've still got a long way to go before we even get to Berg. Now, this is probably one of the better tracks that we've been on to tonight. Earlier on tonight, there was a whole heap of people who we saw bogged. In fact, we got bogged ourselves a lot earlier. We're running a little bit behind time, but I think we'll do all right.
How do you reckon the guy on the Mack truck is in the bog?
Yes, well, not easy.
Considering the vehicle, the weight, the weight, that first section was diabolical. It was mud piles about 200 metres long and about 3 feet deep. In fact, we even saw one guy stuck trying to get across the railway line to find firm ground.
I'd say by tomorrow morning there'll be a lot of people eliminated from the whole City to Darwin Safari.
Yep.
The conditions on the first day had devastated the hopes of many in the rally. The pressure, problems and frustrations had taken a high toll of competitors and their machines. And for the survivors, there was to be little rest.
Oh, just a valve grind.
No problems at all. One reason why we had wheel wobble?
I'd say so, Mike. That section that we did where the car felt like it was about to roll over going down the road is largely responsible for all this mud in here.
31. A bit of rock and roll, huh?
It wasn't until next morning, when the results were posted, that everyone realised just how bad the first section had been.
You're out in about 30 seconds.
How's it going?
Okay, not too bad.
Switch off then.
6:03 coming up.
Well, it's a freezing cold morning in Burgers. Day 2 gets underway, and already half the field has been eliminated from this race, with still 6 days of competition to go.
There were scores of protests about the conditions, and organisers were confronted by angry competitors, especially those in two-wheel drive rally cars, who found themselves eliminated before the event had really started.
A lot of complaints from the two-wheel drives, the rally fraternity who have come in here. They've had a lot of troubles with this trip.
Yes, well, it's not going to be a rally-oriented event, and in fact I'd say next year we would intend to make it for four-wheel drives and for cycles. The rally fraternity, you know, have their rallies they can go in. Of course, a lot of boys are having problems because, quite frankly, they haven't had a long event for a long time, and they're therefore, I believe, completely unprepared for what it's all about. It's not just a special stage rally through a forest over a day or two.
Do you think that they should have, in fact, even started? Do you think that was a mistake letting them, a lot of these two-wheel drive family cars even start?
Probably it was. When people phoned us, or we mentioned this to them, that we thought it was going to be very tough. I believe that the course has been passable for two-wheel drive, and so do all the other boys associated with the event. But yes, it was going to be tough to be able to get through. But a lot of them, of course, just would not have had the experience, so we couldn't talk them out of coming to the event. They just wanted to come.
Nine, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! 3, 2, 1, go!
As the marathon continued on past the back of Burke and into Queensland, there were more heartbreaking bogs waiting. Well, this is the third day of the Enduro Marathon to Darwin, and we're just caught in a minor traffic jam here at Batuta, which is on the way to Birdsville. Leading the pack today is Andrew Cowan's teammate Patrick Zanaroli from France with the Mitsubishi team. And for the motorcycles, which has got to be the hardest way to get there, is Phil Lovett from Australia. It was hard not to be impressed by the motorcyclists, while the international superstars like Gaston Rayir had four-wheel drive backup vehicles carrying full repair facilities. Most of the riders carried their equipment on their back, and without the assistance of a navigator, they had to find their way across the outback using simple route maps. They also had a high attrition rate. Of the 70 bikes that started, only 15 finished. The early leader, Lovett, crashed on the 6th day. But fellow Australian Steve Chapman was second across the line after Cowan's Pajero. And Frenchman Rayir, the Paris to Dakar champion, came third outright.
A few of them are pulling out because it's hard and just mechanical problems.
You've had no mechanical problems?
Oh, I've had a few, hiding in that one over there. About a few flat tyres and demolishing things here and there.
Have you done this before?
Oh, I've ridden enduros, but nothing like this.
Well, this is the edge of the Simpson Desert, and already it's claimed a few victims. If the huge desert sandals didn't stop you, the tyre-tearing shrub would. And repeatedly changing red-hot tyres in blistering heat made you respect the tough and unforgiving Australian outback.
It's now about 20 to 10 at night. We've been going since 6:30 this morning. So far today we've broken 2 spotlights off their mountings. We've flattened a tyre. We've been picking along this road at about 20 kilometres per hour, and we're not even near home tonight. The organisers have certainly found the worst possible way to get to Darwin.
Hans, well, we're halfway through the event.
Well,
Is it living up to expectations?
well, it seems that to some people it's harder than they expect. I mean, more than half the field is out, I believe, about 2/3. So there's less than 100 people left in it. The credit to a camera crew that's still in it is that it couldn't really have been that hard because your camera's still working.
What's it going to be like as we get through the territory? Is it going to get any worse or...?
Oh, you're now in the tough country. I mean, territory adventure country. So after Alice Springs, you're going to have a good day.
Are those that are dropping out getting angry that it has been a bit too demanding, a bit too treacherous?
Well, the ones that are dropping out are not here to be angry. And the ones who are here are happy because they're looking around and they're seeing this scarred battlefield, you know, and they're still part of it. So that there's 60, 70 vehicles that are still in it. They, of course, are happy that they're still in it. I mean, like you. I mean, you're obviously feeling great that you're through and the others are not. So obviously the others that are not through, they'll blame it on me until they get over it. And you guys that are in it, you're proud of the fact that you're still in it.
Go! 30 seconds. 3, 2, 1, go!
In the morning, Andrew Cowan led the field away into the red centre of the Northern Territory. In the desolate outback of the Northern Territory, the heat and dust were now the enemies, and desperate times sometimes called for desperate action.
We've cleared both sections so far. We're going for a third, and the bloody thing started to vapour. Can't get up speed, so rather than stuff the other competitors up.
One major obstacle was the notorious jump up, located on a huge Northern Territory cattle station. And everyone on the station took the day off to watch these crazy southerners attempt to climb the kangaroos would avoid. But not everyone was happy to see the Wynns Safari entries battling through their local area. Back of Burke, this Citroën was hit by a bullet.
All of a sudden we hear this bloody big bang, and we didn't know what it was because we were having some problems with our suspension, so we thought we might have broken a mechanical component. And then we saw a big puff of smoke, or what we thought was smoke, but it just turned out to be dust. And so then we stopped the car and we have a look, and there's water pissing out everywhere. And we didn't know what the hell had happened, and we just couldn't explain it, and we thought there was an electrical fire or something like that. And then the next day when we were replacing the head gasket in Thargomindah, we were having a look around the car and we saw this hole here, and it's only so far away from the auxiliary fuel tank, and if that had hit the auxiliary fuel tank, it would have been history.
The sixth day, another pre-dawn start. And if you had survived this far, there was a feeling that the worst was over.
We've got what, one and a half days to go. I'd be quite happy if it was all over.
You having any fun out there?
Well, that's why we're here. I think all the guys that are in it so far are having a lot of fun.
In the Northern Territory, the atrocious roads, the choking dust and the blistering heat forced more entries out, although some refused to give up without a fight.
This is a bit greasy, as you saw.
Bull bars came in handy for some. This Daihatsu team entry had a head-on collision in the blinding dust.
Yeah. What did you do that for, Ivan?
After a few desperate repairs, somehow it did manage to finish the event.
If you can work it, if you can work that rest of it.
And incredibly, this wreck also survived to reach Darwin.
Well, we went off the track and were parked, and 10 seconds later we just heard a crunch. And the guy just ran right over the top of us, through the dust. You just can't see through the dust.
So how much damage do you reckon you've got done here?
Oh, we'll be in it tomorrow. We'll be in it. We didn't come this far for nothing. No, we'll be in it tomorrow, guaranteed.
So you'll finish in Darwin with this car?
We'll finish with Darwin. There's nothing wrong with the car. The running gear is perfect. All we've changed is the back shocks. And that's it, the whole trip. And we're line 38th this morning outright.
Has it been all worth it?
No, it's an adventure. You know, I'd say so. I'd do it again, I suppose, if my wife had let me.
After 6,000 kilometres, only 80 vehicles made the final run down the highway into Darwin. Andrew Cowan held the lead he started with in Sydney. He was followed by two bike riders, Australian Steve Chapman and Frenchman Gaston Rayir. And fourth, in a standard Pajero, was Australian Ross Dunkerton.
Really, you know, there have been times when things have got a bit difficult, but I think mainly in the mud sections, you know, where it was pretty heavy going, and some of the, and on one occasion we got stuck in the mud, and you know, it looked impossible to get the car out. However, we got it out, and we got stuck in the sand 2 days ago too. That was also quite hair-raising.
Would you do it again?
Oh yeah, sure.
If they run it next year, will you be back?
Sure, I hope they do run it next year. I think it's got tremendous potential, this event, in this country. You know, there's some great roads and great areas where we don't affect the other people or the other traffic, and wide open spaces. I think it's a super way to go motoring.
The race was very hard because we started especially very early in the morning and we finished very late in the night, so not really time to, you know, to recover. But anyway, it's an interesting race. For the first year, they do very good job. Could be better. They have some point need to change. But anyway, for the first time, it's a good organization.
Would you do it again?
And if my factory do, I do again, sure.